Welcome to this explainer. We're about to unpack something absolutely mind-bending today. Nagarjuna's commentary on the Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra. It's a text where pure logic literally collides with the ultimate nature of reality, completely peeling back the layers of our everyday perception. So clear your mind, get comfortable, and let's jump right into the core mystery that sets this entire philosophical masterpiece in motion. Okay, let's dive right into this. The whole thing kicks off with a massive, dizzying paradox brought up by Subhuti, who was one of the Buddha's senior disciples. He basically asks, if beings are empty, who exactly is a bodhisattva trying to save? Think about it. In Buddhist thought, a bodhisattva is someone driven by just immense compassion, dedicating their whole existence to saving all sentient beings from suffering. But at the exact same time, the highest wisdom says that all phenomena, and that includes us sentient beings, are empty. We lack a fixed, independent core self. We ultimately just don't exist in the solid way we think we do. So Subhuti is asking a very fair question. If there is no one out there to save, aren't the bodhisattva's tireless efforts totally pointless? Who are they working so hard to rescue?
Section 1. The Bodhisattva's Grand Paradox. So, to make sense of this dilemma, we have to look at how the Buddha responds, and honestly, it is wonderfully counterintuitive. He explains that a bodhisattva acts precisely because of actual reality. Now, actual reality is the ultimate truth. It's emptiness, where things just lack independent existence. On the flip side, you have the realm of sentient beings, which is our messy, everyday worldly existence, full of boundaries, distinctions, and, of course, suffering. We naturally assume these are two completely different things, right? Like to reach actual reality, you have to escape the realm of beings. But the Buddha drops a bombshell. They are essentially the same. They are not separate. If the realm of beings and actual reality were completely different, the bodhisattva wouldn't be able to practice this wisdom at all. It's exactly because they're fundamentally the same that a bodhisattva can dive headfirst into this messy world to help others.
Section 2. The power of skillful means.
You're probably wondering, how do you actually live in a world of illusions without getting totally trapped by them? Well, the answer is skillful means, or upaya. It's defined as establishing beings in actual reality without destroying the characteristics of that reality. Let me break that down. A bodhisattva uses skillful means to teach us practical, everyday actions, like being generous or acting ethically. But here is the absolute genius part. While they teach us to do the action, they are simultaneously teaching us to uproot our psychological attachment to it. They literally use the illusions of the world to cure the illusions of our minds, guiding us to the ultimate truth without having to completely shatter the world we live in to do it. Now, what's really fascinating is seeing how this concept applies to something as simple as giving a gift. Usually we think of generosity as, I am giving this thing to you. But Nagarjuna points out that true, liberating generosity requires realizing the three spheres of emptiness. That means the giver, the gift itself, and the receiver all lack inherent independent existence. See, when we give a gift, we tend to attach our ego to it. We want gratitude, maybe we feel a bit self-righteous, or we see the receiver as this separate, lesser entity who needs our help. True, skillful means in generosity means performing the act perfectly, but fully realizing all three of those components are just empty of a fixed self. When you actually drop those rigid distinctions, it changes everything. The text says, if you do not think of the giver, the gift, and the receiver as different, this generosity can obtain the taste of sweet dew. I love that phrasing. This sweet dew is a powerful metaphor for the ultimate liberation, or nirvana, that comes from practicing without all that dualistic attachment. It basically means your actions no longer bind you to this endless cycle of ego and karma. Instead, they become a source of ultimate freedom and joy. Section 3. Emptiness in daily practice. Let's bring this down to earth and look at something we all deal with, anger. Nagarjuna actually gives us a really logical framework to deconstruct it. So when anger bubbles up, instead of just feeling it or acting on it, you observe it. You stop and ask, wait, who is the one who's angry? Like, where is that fixed self experiencing all this rage? Then you ask, who is the target of this anger? When you really truly deconstruct the whole situation, you realize both the angry self and the target are just temporary, shifting collections of conditions. They're empty. By searching for the solid reality of the anger and failing to find it, the emotion literally loses its foundation and just dissolves. You aren't suppressing the anger at all, you're deconstructing it with wisdom. And you know, this applies to laziness too. A lot of people mistakenly hear the word empty and think, well, if nothing truly exists, then nothing matters, so why do anything at all? But the text states, in the nature of emptiness, there is no one who is lazy and no act of laziness. Since there is no fixed, permanent lazy person hiding inside you, your laziness is just an illusion. Realizing that everything is empty doesn't lead to apathy. It actually inspires boundless, unhindered energy. Because you aren't weighed down by this heavy, rigid ego anymore, you're free to act with incredible diligence. You realize there's absolutely no permanent barrier holding you back. Section 4. Trapped like a silkworm. Which brings us to a really big question. If we are inherently free and everything is empty, why do we experience such intense suffering? Well, Nagarjuna gives us a brilliant, if slightly terrifying, explanation. I absolutely love this metaphor. He says it's like a silkworm that spins silk and wraps itself up, entering boiling water and roasting in fire. The argument here is that when we're born, we don't have these deep-seated attachments. But over time, through our own ignorance, our false distinctions, our cravings, and our hatreds, we spin threads of karma. We literally spin the very trap that causes our own suffering. We build this cocoon of ego around ourselves, and that cocoon is exactly what gets thrown into the boiling water of life's miseries. The suffering isn't being forced on us from the outside, we secrete it right from our own minds. So looking at how this cycle actually works, it starts in the past, ignorance creates karma. That karma leads to our present state, where craving and attachment just naturally bubble up based on what we experience. And unless this cycle is broken, the future promises continued suffering. The text compares the bodhisattva to a wise doctor. Now, a wise doctor doesn't just try to treat a disease that has already destroyed the body. The past is done. The present suffering is already in motion thanks to past karma. Instead, the bodhisattva doctor treats the root cause right now, which is the ignorance and craving, to prevent the future suffering from ever arising. They extinguish the fire before it can burn down the house. Section 5. 2 truths, 1 path. So how do we bring all of this together? We have to resolve Subhuti's initial paradox by synthesizing what Buddhism calls the 2 truths. On one hand, you have conventional truth. This is our worldly reality where distinctions actually matter, where spiritual practice happens, and where bodhisattvas work relentlessly to save suffering beings. On the other hand, you have ultimate truth, the reality of profound emptiness, where there's no creation, no destruction, no beings to save, and no one doing the saving. The secret here is that the bodhisattva doesn't choose one over the other. They operate tirelessly in the conventional truth, doing the hard work of compassion, all while their minds remain completely and unshakably anchored in the peace of the ultimate truth. They see the world as an illusion, but they love the illusions enough to help them. To really drive this home, the Buddha asks a pretty striking counter-question in the text. He asks, where does awakening exist in the dream of an arhat, an awakened being? The answer, of course, is that an arhat doesn't sleep with dreams of attachment. But even if we entertain the concept, awakening has no dualistic location. It's not something you can just grab onto in the physical world. It's neither in the grasping nor in the letting go. It doesn't exist in a specific place because it is the very realization that all places and states are fundamentally empty. And that brings us right to the profound resolution of our paradox. How does a bodhisattva save beings that don't ultimately exist? It is like a magical illusion saving another illusionary being. When a bodhisattva acts, it's an act of profound compassion, yet it's completely free from the exhaustion, the burnout, and that heavy burden of ego because they know they are an illusion helping illusions. The illusion and the real are not two separate things. By engaging fully with the illusion while fully knowing its empty nature, they manage to achieve perfect wisdom and perfect compassion, all at the exact same time. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. It's one thing to understand this conceptually as philosophy, but it's an entirely different thing to live it. If you truly knew deeply in your bones that your current struggles, your rigid sense of identity, and all the people around you were as transient and empty as a dream, how would it change the way you act with compassion today? Think about that. It might just be the key to freeing yourself from the silkworm's cocoon. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the nature of your reality.